October 1984. Celtic overcome a 1-0 first leg defeat to beat Genk 3-0 in Glasgow thanks to a Frank McGarvey double and a goal from Paul McStay.
Tempo al 41esimo è prontissimo a sfruttare una corta. L'azione si sviluppa da questo calcio di punizione con un cross a rientrare ancora, si ritorna praticamente dal punto da dove era partita l'azione con il calcio di punizione per arrivare poi alla conclusione, vedete, con un primo palo e poi McGarvey in stirata riesce ad arrivare sul pallone e a fare quindi in pieno contropiede. McStay segna il definitivo gol del 3-0, si qualifica quindi alla grande il Celtic battendo.
Elsewhere, Rapid Vienna beat Turkey-side Besiktas 5-2 on aggregate, setting up a Cup Winners' Cup second round tie between Rapid and Celtic. During the first leg in Austria, the home team went 1-0 up before Brian McClure equalised for Davy Hayes' side. However, Vienna go on to score two more and take a 3-1 lead over to Scotland.
Degli austriaci per 3-1. In apertura della partita, all'8° minuto, c'è questo gol di Pakult che porta in vantaggio il Rapid con la maglia a strisce. La squadra di Glasgow, i Rangers hanno giocato contro l'Inter, il Celtic invece qui in Coppa delle Coppe contro il Rapid, vanno al pareggio con questo bel gol di McLeod. Azione molto bella, condotta molto bene, vedete c'è al 21esimo c'è questo calcio di punizione, vedete lo stacco di Liner, precisissimo, e torna in 42esimo, troviamo un altro grande personaggio del calcio internazionale, Krankel, vedrete che ha i capelli un po' brizzolati, quasi bianchi, ma ha ancora la dinamite nel suo piede, il sinistro. 3-1 con il gol.
One thing going in Celtic's favour heading into the return fixture was at this point, Celtic were unbeaten at home in the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, which was Europe's secondary competition at the time. Whilst this current Celtic team have a record of just 8 wins in their last 24 home games in European competition, things looked a bit better back in 1984. In fact, Celtic's home record in the Cup Winners' Cup at that time was 14 games played, 12 wins and 2 draws. Cue the 7th of November 1984. Celtic fielded a starting 11 consisting of Pat Bonner, Willie McStay, Murdo McLeod, Roy Aitken, Tom McAdam, Peter Grant, Davy Provan, Paul McStay, Tommy Burns, Brian McClure and Frank McGarvey. In the 32nd minute of the game, Brian McClure put Celtic 1-0 up before a Murdo McLeod goal shortly before the interval put Celtic ahead on aggregate, and Tommy Burns added a third in the second half to give Celtic a 3-0 victory on the night and a 3-1 win on aggregate.
Paul McStay's pass. There's Provan. McLeod! The goal of the highest class for Celtic. Could there be a dramatic finish to the first half? They kind of misjudged it. That's Grant. Oh, well judged pass. Played in by Provan. There's McClure. McAdam is there also. Tommy Burns is in the thick of it. Here's Murdo McLeod. And there it is! More than 2 minutes of injury time in the first half. And the Celtic fans go wild. Good control from McGarvey. That's for Burns. Won the ball to the keeper and the referee has given the goal. The Austrians go mad. Burns gets the third.
There was the chance of a fourth goal from the penalty spot also, but Peter Grant missed with his spot kick.
Well, perhaps the delay was too long. The penalty kick is missed. And in a sense, perhaps that is something which has calmed things down rather than inflamed the situation.
It should have been a joyous night at Paradise to remember for years to come. But the atmosphere throughout was tense and hostile. Rapid had kicked and fouled their way through the first leg and did likewise at Parkhead, as well as frequently play acting and time wasting, which really infuriated the 1980s Celtic crowd, who were largely unfamiliar with this now commonplace tactic. After Tommy Burns scored Celtic's third goal, Vienna players and staff reacted furiously as they claimed for a foul, and there was a 15-minute delay to proceedings.
The ball was never in the keeper's hands. Burns got up quicker. And there goes the third goal, which has completely incensed the Rapid players, mobbing the referee and linesman. So a long hold up, that goal coming midway through the second half. But we've had a stoppage of about 3 minutes now in the aftermath of that goal, which has certainly proved controversial to say the least. Goalkeeper will continue.
During the argument, Rapid midfielder Rudolf Weinhofer collapsed to the ground, claiming to have been hit by a bottle that was thrown from the crowd. Now, a bottle was undoubtedly thrown onto the pitch, but video evidence and fans in attendance insisted the bottle never made contact with Weinhofer.
And there goes an Austrian player going down, a bottle coming on after the player went down. Now this really is becoming dramatic.
Regardless, Weinhofer left the pitch with his head wrapped in bandages. A member of the Red Cross, Eddie McGarrell, was a first aid attendant with over 30 years of experience. He helped Weinhofer when he fell to the ground and submitted a post-match report to Celtic that said, "I saw no sign of bleeding, bruising or any other injury affecting the player, and he was fully conscious." Due to the controversy, UEFA decided to hold a disciplinary committee meeting to discuss the incident and the match as a whole, and initially ruled that the result should stand, choosing to fine Celtic £4,000 for the bottle throwing, which is the 2025 equivalent with inflation of around £13,000, and to fine Rapid £5,000, that's a 2025 equivalent with inflation of around £16,000, for the behaviour of the Rapid players that night. SFA President Ernie Walker had said it would be inconceivable for UEFA to overturn the result anyway. Case closed, and Celtic were to move on to the quarter-finals, correct? Unfortunately not. Rapid Vienna launched an appeal to the verdict, submitting personal testimony from their club doctor that Weinhofer was struck with an unseen object from the crowd not picked up by cameras. Astonishingly, UEFA now reversed their decision and sided with Rapid, cancelling the result of the second leg and ordering for a replay to be held at least 150 kilometres away from Celtic Park. As such, the second round replay was held at Manchester United's home ground of Old Trafford on the 12th of December 1984. Over 40,000 Celtic fans travelled to England for the game, and as you can probably imagine, the atmosphere was toxic. Celtic attacked from the off, but in the 17th minute conceded on the counter-attack. Sadly, it was to be the only goal of the game, and tempers from the Celtic fans in attendance spilled onto the pitch as the match played out.
Le immagini, ecco le immagini. Si è giocato a Manchester, ecco, attenzione, guardate, prima il Celtic colpisce un palo. Sull'azione confusa del rinvio nasce il contropiede con cui Pakult va a segnare il gol del Rapid Vienna. Tutto in pochi secondi, dal possibile gol del Celtic con palla respinta dal palo, mischia nell'aria e poi il gol di Pakult. Vedete come rimane male i tifosi del Celtic Glasgow, che poi uno di questi scende in campo e cerca di colpire, riuscendoci, il portiere Feurer. Continuano gli incidenti provocati dagli scalmanati. La partita si è dovuta rigiocare. Attenzione, guardate quando sta per uscire dal campo proprio Pakult, l'autore del gol, che viene atteso e colpito, eccolo qui, proprio a tradimento. Viene colpito alle spalle dell'arbitro.
In the second half, Italian referee Luigi Angolin turned down Celtic appeals for a penalty, leading to a Celtic fan running onto the pitch to attack Rapid goalkeeper Herbert Fuhrer. As the players left the pitch after the final whistle, another Celtic fan ran onto the field and kicked the goal scorer, Peter Packholt, right in the balls.
UEFA issued a warning to British clubs after crowd trouble forced Celtic and Rapid Vienna to replay a European Cup tie. The warning was wasted. Celtic had won the original tie, Vienna won this one, and they won it the hard way. Unthinkable today, this kind of incident was occurring almost weekly in British football in the mid-80s.
Rapid advanced to the quarter-finals for a tie with East German side Dynamo Dresden, while more serious consequences awaited Celtic for the crowd trouble. UEFA fined the club £17,000, which is now roughly 55 grand, and ordered Celtic to play their next European home game behind closed doors, which would take place the following October in a 2-1 home loss against Atletico Madrid in the Cup Winners' Cup, costing the club a fortune in ticket sales, which was a primary source of income at the time.
Roar from 60,000 throats. This afternoon there were less than 150 in the stadium. Every shout, clap and whistle echoed around the terraces. They were deserted but for a few police officers able for once to face a footballing action.
Rapid Vienna made it all the way to the 1985 Cup Winners' Cup final, before thankfully being defeated 3-1 in Rotterdam by a Howard Kendall-managed Everton. Ironically, Everton's first 2 goals on the night both came from future Rangers players in the form of Andy Gray and Trevor Steven. Players and staff involved will never forget the injustice of this fiasco, with manager Davy Hay later stating, "The only time I really think of the Rapid fiasco is when people mention it to me. I know I'll never forget what happened. The club hadn't enjoyed a lot of success in Europe for some time, and the general feeling was if we'd beaten them once, we could do it again." Goal scorer in both of the initial first 2 legs, Frank McGarvey, would say, "To this day, I still dislike talking about Celtic's game against Rapid Vienna in the European Cup Winners' Cup back in 1984. Celtic had a fantastic team then that could score goals from all over the park. We had Brian McClure, Davy Provan and Paul McStay. I firmly believed we had a great chance of winning a European trophy that season." In some tragic way, this tie signified the end of Celtic's old glory era in European football. In the 1960s and 70s, Celtic were of course a force to be reckoned with under Jock Stein, winning the European Cup in 67 and reaching another final in 1970. As Davy Hay mentioned, things hadn't been going quite so well for a number of years leading up to the Rapid tie, but it always felt as if Celtic were underperforming and had another big run in European football in them. After this exit, Celtic fell into a dark period in European competition, essentially becoming minnows, regularly knocked out in either the first or second round for more than a decade afterwards. It really took until Martin O'Neill's arrival before things turned around, and it was the road to Seville in 2003 before Celtic finally achieved qualification for a round of European football after Christmas again. It is a horrible story for Celtic, but eventually the club rose up again, and we see a similar situation in Celtic's standing in European football today. Results are abysmal and largely have been for well over a decade. However, things can change, and we'll always maintain the hope of bigger and better things to come for Celtic on the European stage.